Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fat Minute, the official podcast of Pooka, Saucy. I'm here today with co-creator Michael Whedon.
Hello.
Co-writer Trevor Klein.
It sure is.
And editor and producer Donnie Johnson.
Who are you?
I'm gonna mix things up today a little bit. We only have 3 topics, but who knows, maybe we'll still go over 2 hours. The first topic is, I'm going to try to spit this out, but it'll take me a few minutes to even open up with. I really enjoyed our discussions and think pieces on studios. We've done Universal Pictures, Paramount Pictures. We did Marvel, Disney, and Star Wars, I believe. In last episode, we did Warner Brothers management of DC Comics properties. Today, I wanted to take the focus in a more broad angle and discuss the management of Warner Brothers non-DC, everything else at Warner Brothers without DC. News broke today that Cary Fukunaga, or whatever, the True Detective guy, dropped out of It due to creative...
Out of what?
The remake of Stephen King's It, due to creative differences, clashing conflicts. Apparently, he truly believed to make the film worth it, he wanted to do it into 2 parts, while the studio wanted to just have it in 1 part. So you're trying to tell me that Warner Brothers is okay with splitting The Hobbit into 3 movies, but It, which is over 1,000 pages long, must remain 1 film and not even 2. I don't really see the logic there. We're also putting on the table how we're getting a Harry Potter expanded universe. How will the importance of that play out without having any more main Harry Potter films? There have been rumors of Warner Brothers wanting to revive the Matrix saga trilogy and turn it into a saga, as well as what Donnie said the other day, saying, I'm surprised they haven't tried to make more Looney Tunes movies. Mm-hmm. So,
especially with the Muppets starting
Brendan
to make a
Fraser needs work.
So once again, I'm going to open up the table. I really like an open table. Once again, be mindful of other people and allow them to have their turns. Keep in mind that I am the moderator. If I chime in, I'm only trying to help you improve and just add to your point.
Don't believe his lies.
So let's just open up. What do we think of Warner Brothers management, specifically starting with the news of where Stephen King's It remake is going?
Well, as far as It goes, I mean, you used The Hobbit as like a counter argument. The Hobbit could have been 2 movies instead of 3.
Should have.
Yeah, it should have been 2 movies. I think It can work either way. It can either be a 1 movie or a 2 movie. I think it could really work either way. That's just me personally. But yeah, I'm surprised Warner Brothers isn't trying to do like anything with Looney Tunes, especially since the Muppets are starting to make a comeback. I mean, when was the last time we saw anything big from Looney Tunes?
Back in action.
Which was how many years ago?
Nobody cared.
Brendan Fraser had hair.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser had hair. That's how long ago it was. And then as far as the Harry Potter expanded universe, I love Harry Potter. This isn't really the first thing that they're doing with expanding the universe of Harry Potter, because I don't know if you guys have ever like maybe played around with it or looked at it at all. There's a website called Pottermore.
I've heard of it.
It's pretty fun. It's not bad. It's based pretty much completely on the books, but there's a lot of expanded material in there straight from J.K. Rowling, like the notes she wrote over the years that she just never included in the books. So, you know, when I sit and think about it, I think an expanded universe of Harry Potter could work very well, because yeah, while the books center around Harry and his adventure is over, there's a whole giant world that he exists in that could really be explored and you could have a lot of fun with. And plus, the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them movies are being written by J.K. Rowling, so at least the creator of the whole thing has a very big hand in the direction it goes.
Trevor, Michael, input?
I have a point about It specifically, but I will say that's a relationship that you have seen a lot of lately, is that between executives and a director, there's a lot of
Nobody
times
gets along.
essentially a war going on. I mean, we really saw that with the second Avengers, I think.
Yeah.
For Joss Whedon to leave as he did was fairly bad on both parties' part, I want to say.
Call it a biased opinion, but Warner Brothers has been has taken pride into having good relationships with their directors in recent years, though.
Yeah.
Above other studios.
That's
You can't
true,
please all of
but
them, though.
yeah, that's. I mean, this is an example of where it goes wrong, though.
Yeah.
There's just got to be some you don't get along with.
In terms of splitting it into two parts, I think it's essential. I mean, they did it the first time, and they still cut a ton of stuff out.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael, I think among us all is the only one that's read the book.
We'll get a real earful from Michael.
Yeah, but I think to take as much out as they did, and in the original version they had to make it into two parts, that you have to this time as well, or else you're either going to get something that completely is off of the source material, like, a lot of bad horror movies in the past, or you're going to get something that tries to stick to it but doesn't do its job because it gets maybe a quarter of the whole thing.
I mean, I brought up The Hobbit because The Hobbit is only 300 pages long and 3 books. The 3 movies, I mean. I think it could be 3 movies even, depending on its length.
Possibly.
At least 2. But yeah. I think it should be a plan A, plan B, where either they do 2 movies and still make each one lengthy, or if they're going to only do 1 movie, it better be at least 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Or at least have a pretty goddamn big director's cut.
I think
I'm not in most cases I'm not liking this new theme of not just movies based on books but other properties that we have to split the finale into 2 parts. It works for certain things.
Well,
but originally Hobbit was 2 movies if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
it was.
Under Guillermo del Toro.
And then
well, the one that started the whole split the finale into 2 was Harry Potter. And now everybody copies it.
Was Twilight before that?
No, Harry Potter was
because that continued it. I mean, it's not the same movie at all. But
it works for Harry Potter because the last book has a lot going on.
Yeah, but after a while, it morphed from splitting it into 2 movies, not because
it worked,
but because we need to stretch the
money.
finale into money.
Yeah.
I think it'll work for Avengers because there is a lot going on in Infinity Gauntlet, which.
Yeah.
Is only the base of whatever they're going to make. I mean, it's definitely going to bounce off that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, here's the timeline. It started with Harry Potter, continued with Twilight, Hunger Games, then the news of Divergent doing it, and now Avengers. I think
the Maze Runner's not doing that.
The Maze Runner's not doing that, which I respect the Maze Runner even more for now. Hey, once again, if anything, it had the free pass on such a gimmick.
Yeah.
Not even a gimmick for it.
And the last point on the last thing you brought up, I think all these companies kind of lost using their mascots around the way, like you were talking about Looney Tunes. It's like whatever happened to Mickey Mouse, And
you still see a decent amount of Mickey Mouse.
He had those he had those shorts. Like
while we were in high school, there was a good gap where they did not give a shit about Mickey Mouse.
Well, I mean, the only thing I've really seen prominent lately, to the point where it really matters, is those shorts they did like 2 years ago, and they were pretty funny stuff. They reminded me of like classic SpongeBob.
He had a show in the 2000s.
House of Mouse.
But all that was repeats cut with little things in between. It was just the old
had
ones.
movies too.
Yeah.
Straight to DVD movies. But
that's not. You don't get anything theatrical, or you don't get a real series.
No, they haven't done anything with them theatrically.
Looney Tunes, the last show they did, I think it was just called Looney Tunes Show.
They do more Goofy.
The one where it was like Bugs and Daffy were roommate. That was really funny. I don't get why it got canceled, besides Cartoon Network liking to cancel everything.
Yeah.
But these companies need to do more with their iconic characters. Maybe not try to modernize them too much, but
they forgot where they came from.
And I feel like Muppets is on the right track of that.
Yeah. They're going back to the basics of just it being a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Warner Brothers truly is the only studio that could be the rival of Disney, because Disney has Marvel, Star Wars, and their Mickey Mouse characters. One of the status Jared posted that I really enjoyed was, everybody makes a big deal out of their legal empire, but legally speaking, Bugs Bunny, Harry Potter, Scooby-Doo and the gang, and Batman could all team up in the same movie if they wanted to.
I'll take 20.
Yeah. I do have to throw it out there that Warner Brothers is my favorite studio of all. If this was sports teams and I had to wear if I had to wear the hat and the jersey, I would have the WB on me. But yeah, I think this news is a little disappointing. Michael, thoughts?
Yeah, I really like Cary Fukunaga.
Bless you.
I was
have a
actually
cream
really,
for that.
I was actually really excited for him to be the director. I kind of had a feeling though he was going to back out because this movie it kept being delayed and we weren't hearing anything from it. Like when we heard that Pennywise was cast, that was the first news we had in like a year.
Yeah.
And from what I read, they might not even keep that guy because Cary Fukunaga wanted him. And apparently the studio doesn't like... Apparently, that's what I read. Apparently the studio doesn't like his choice.
Yeah.
So they might not even keep that kid because they're not starting production now. They didn't have any other people cast, so that kid might lose his job for it.
We were only a month away.
From what? Them starting to film it?
Starting to film it.
Wow.
A month.
That blows.
Weeks.
Wow.
And...
I'll say Warner Brothers really... I mean, other than DC, Warner Brothers really doesn't do anything anymore.
I mean...
I think it comes down to they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
And they need to figure something out quick because Disney has Marvel. They have all their other stuff as well.
And if they keep being successful, they're just going to buy more stuff. I mean,
Fox has Magic the Gathering now, and who knows, that has tons of potential to be big. So Warner Brothers needs to figure something out and quick because other than DC, they don't do anything.
And they could do the shared universe because Stephen King books are already all connected.
Yeah.
Especially the Dark Tower books. Like, they reference, like, all of his books.
Warner Brothers does most Stephen King stories. They're doing The Stand as well.
And they're doing the Dark Tower, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't know about
There's
that.
early talks about it, but there's been talks about it for a few years now.
I think there was somewhere it had to switch studios, like it was at Columbia, then it was Universal or something. I don't know where it is now.
Yeah.
But as far as it being multiple movies, I see where people both come from because the old movie, the TV movie, it was 2 parts where they focused on the kids in the first part and then they focused on the adults in the second part. If it was one movie, it would have to be really long. It would have to be at least 3 hours. Because, and the problem I have with it splitting it in 2 movies, if you're going to split in 2 movies, don't split it up like they did in the old movie. Don't do kids and then adults because the whole point of the book is that the book jumps back and forth. I think also them splitting it up and focusing on the kid story first and the adult stories in part 2 ruins the adult part. Because it makes it very anticlimactic. Because it's kind of... There's a thing in the book where it's kind of like history's kind of repeating itself. And so when you're watching it, if you're just watching it straight as an adult, you kind of feel like you're watching the same thing. They're just adults.
Yeah.
And especially at the end of the book, in like the last couple chapters, there's a big, like, when they go to its lair, like there's a big jump back and forth, like... You see what they do in that situation as kids, and then you see it as an adult, and it keeps jumping back and forth. And that's kind of how the book was meant to be. And one of the funny things, and I guess this is a spoiler, but the book's been out since '85, and the movie came out in 1990. So the movie, like part 1, they don't reveal that one of them dies. Stan, he dies at the very end of part 1. And the funny thing is, when I read the book, that literally, they show Stan die at the very beginning of the book. Like, it's in the 2nd chapter of the book, Stan dies from the get-go. But that kind of helps the story. I can't really describe it, how it helps. But, my feelings wouldn't be hurt if it was just one movie. They would just have to do it right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, it has a lot of details. A lot of that I don't see them putting in the movie. Like, it's very long because it has these, like, 5 interludes throughout the book which kind of deal with, like, the history of the town they live in. And I know they're not going to have that in the movie. That's just backstory for a book. And that's the thing, movies and books are completely different, and I don't expect the movie to be 100% like the book. What I do want, I want the movie to show more of the rawness that the TV movie couldn't do, because the TV movie,
Censorship.
it was on ABC.
Yeah.
And ABC's owned by Disney. I mean, Warner Brothers distributes the TV movie now, but it aired on ABC, and they could only show so much. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, the TV movie's scary. It has the atmosphere, but I want to see, like, with the technology today, I want to see more of, like, the different things that it turns into, and more of the kind of climactic stuff, because even though I think it works in the old movie, like, the giant spider thing in the first movie, it was, like, stop motion, and it didn't look too good.
Yeah.
I would like to see the giant spider done better. I'd like them to do the big thing from the book that was cut was the house on Neibolt Street, which was kind of like its first lair, and they go there a couple times in the book, and when they go there, he turns into a werewolf, and there's like a chase scene, and then there's a fight scene there, and like, I would like to see that.
They were going to do kids and then adults, though, as we found out. That's what the director wanted to do.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that either, but like, that's what the old movie did.
Yeah.
And like, if you're gonna remake it, don't just do it based off the TV movie.
Right.
Just don't do a carbon copy of the TV movie.
And you said the clown is overused in the movie, the TV show.
He's not the clown as much as he is in the book.
In the movie, he's in the scene he's in the movie almost every scene.
Yeah.
Well, and like some scenes, there was a scene in the original movie they made it more complicated because the first time Eddie sees Pennywise Pennywise like comes out of the drain, and they do this like stop motion effect where he like stretches the drain open. In the book, it's a lot more of a simpler scene, which probably would have been easier to film. Eddie's coming home from school, and this guy that he sees that's deformed like comes up on him and is like asking him for money, and he finds out that it's really it, and it's it disguised as a leper, and he starts chasing him like that. And the next time he sees him, like his face has completely come off, and he looks more like a zombie than a leper. I'm like, I feel like that scene would have been a little easier to do than just do this whole stop motion scene, because stop motion takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. But they're just doing it to throw the clown in. Or like when Richie runs into it for the first time, you see him as the werewolf for like 2 seconds, and then he's the clown again. And Richie never sees him as the clown. Mm-hmm. The clown is kind of like its voice. Like, he kind of like talks for him. That's like his disguise to lure people, and usually he talks to people in that form. But he turns into a lot more... or like in the sewer, like that's where the big confrontation is with it. In the book, he is never the clown in the sewer. Never.
Really?
Nope. Because when they go into his lair, like behind the door inside the sewer, he's always the spider. The spider is his true physical form on Earth. The giant spider. And then like... other forms they see in like the sewers, they see him as Bill's dead brother. They see him as a giant like killer eyeball with tentacles, and then he's also the Frankenstein's monster in the sewer. He basically that's one of the cool things about it. Like, he turns into all the classic movie monsters in the book. He's a vampire. He's a mummy. He's Frankenstein's monster. He's a creature from the Black Lagoon. Like, he turns into like all because. When they're kids, it takes place in the 50s, and that's when those movies came out. And that's kind of the cool thing about it, is that he turns into all the classic monsters. He even turns into, like, the old sci-fi, or, like, that giant eyeball. There was an old sci-fi movie about that. I forget what it was called.
You mentioned their thing about reviving The Matrix.
Rumors. Only rumors.
Nobody cares anymore.
Without a doubt, that died with Jupiter Ascending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody cares.
I feel like if they did do it, they'd get someone else to direct it.
They're busy with that show they're putting together.
I heard apparently that, like, when the first Matrix was being made, that Warner Brothers was very strict with them.
Really?
And didn't let them... And that's why The Matrix is so good, because they didn't let the Wachowskis, like, run all over, because they were getting a little too wacky.
I'm very worried. Well, I guess worried... can only deal with the hypothetical, whereas it's been proven now. I fear that the Wachowskis turned out to be one-hit wonders.
It's definitely looking that way.
But yeah, I think The Matrix does work better as just one open-ended film. It was a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario, really, because how do you top the first movie? But then if they never made a sequel, you would have had people for years saying, how do you not make a sequel to that?
Yeah.
Or at least try.
I still think Reloaded's good.
Mm-hmm.
I
like Reloaded.
I give it a 7.
I think Reloaded's a fun sequel, but Revolutions is all right up until the end, and I feel like the end didn't explain enough.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like the war's over, but what happens to all these characters?
Yeah.
Like, what happened to Neo at the end?
I mean, they kind of did like an expansion on that with an MMO
Yeah.
that like maybe 5 people played. But I mean, if they were to revive the Matrix, nobody would care.
I liked what The Path of Neo did, that video game.
It made the ending better.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of just the fight with Smith, like, you fight Mega Smith. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Mega
Mega
as corny as that was, it was awesome.
It's cool.
Double Jaws.
It's very video gamey, but like because in the sequels he's able to clone himself.
Mm-hmm.
All his clones create city rubble and pile on, and they form.
Yeah, it's a giant
Mega
Smith made out of like
Junk.
buildings and cars and stuff.
Yeah, and it's
he like rips like a pair of giant sunglasses off like a billboard.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
yeah.
I would love to see that on film.
But yeah, I think
It's a
He
cutscene
can
of
form
it.
everything else, but the sunglasses he has to pull from the billboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of them like hokey billboards with like a giant pair of sunglasses, and he just rips it off and puts it on.
Mr. Anderson.
I do
And
agree
you
with
literally
that.
just have to fly around as Neo, hitting him.
I think it'd be cool if they had the Animatrix, which was a lot of it was one of
Oh
the
shit, that'd be disturbing in live action.
one of the
That was disturbing animated.
yeah. One of the primary parts of the Animatrix was a 2-part prequel to the Matrix trilogy about how the machines took over. I could totally see that as a live-action movie in itself.
That'd
Transcendence as a good movie.
Yes.
that'd probably be the only way a Matrix revival would gain any interest.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it's got nobody cares about the Matrix anymore. And I mean, maybe I saw the movie too late. I saw it for the first time maybe a couple months ago.
You did see it too late.
I don't think it's that great, really. I don't think it's all it's hyped up to be.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Maybe I saw it too late, but I don't feel it.
Yeah,
It's
without
one
a
of those.
doubt.
It's one of those things. It changed movies in the early 2000s.
You have
Yeah.
too much to compare to it now.
Yeah.
Everything ripped it off.
Yeah, it is the movie. It truly was the Star Wars of its generation, of the late '90s.
Speaking of the rip-offs, I still need to watch Equilibrium.
Yeah.
I bought that and haven't watched it yet.
It's arguably one of the last movies to change the way movies are made, other than Avatar. But
What about Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings didn't really change filmmaking
It set a
itself.
it set a
It
land-
changed fantasy movies.
It set a landmark
Fantasy.
for fantasy.
Because now everything rips off Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like the Aragon movie and shit.
Yeah.
Like they all
Yeah.
rip it off.
As far as like,
I like the Aragon books. I'm not dissing Aragon, but like any like fan of the Aragon or the Inheritance series books, as they're called, like they all fucking hate that.
And the only
movie.
thing Avatar changed was it reminded studios that 3D was coming back.
yeah.
That's
It
the only
is-
thing Avatar changed.
As far as like a technical standard, The Matrix, like that scene we love in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 where he uses his senses to look around and see who's about to get hurt.
Matrix.
That exists because of The Matrix.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of things you
Anything
can do,
slow-mo is kind of from the Matrix.
a lot of great shots you can do in a superhero movie now exist because of what The Matrix set.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, let's wrap up WB in a nice shiny box and put it back in the water tower.
yeah. But yeah, I love WB. I still think it could turn itself around.
Bring back the Animaniacs.
They already are. That's what I was about to say. They are bringing back the Animaniacs.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
And bring back Freakazoid.
They're also...
Live action
Freakazoid.
movie.
Yeah, starring... Well, yeah.
Who are
Starring
you gonna say?
David Spade.
Well, he's doing Deadpool, but Ryan Reynolds would have been perfect.
Oh.
What?
I don't know. I still like my other pick.
Then
for-
Dane Cook
Sam
can-
Rockwell?
Yeah, I think he would have been a better Deadpool.
Which one?
Sam Rockwell.
Oh.
At this
Dane
point.
Cook can be Freakazoid.
Yes.
Yeah, that would actually
Yes.
work.
Yes.
That could work. He has the voice, too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Someone Photoshop him blue on their phone.
Yeah.
I just want to see it.
N-
Haha.
As a reminder, other than Harry Potter, future Harry Potter films and DC movies, they are also starting work on Blade Runner 2 next year from the director of Prisoners. I'm excited to get a trailer for Cesario when we can. But yeah, we'll move on, obviously. So that's what we think of that. Let us start our first movie review, one of two of the evening. Yeah, you won't be saying that in a minute. Which is the remake of Poltergeist.
Oh.
The 2015 remake of the 1982, I think it was 82 film. I can't do a good introduction for this. Let's just get into it. What do we think of Poltergeist?
Like the original better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original is better.
It had a few creepy moments, but overall it's
Definitely.
pretty lame.
Best scenes with the power drill. That was a new scene.
That was the one new thing that was cool.
Yeah.
They didn't play with the family's fears enough. They simply hinted at them.
Right.
The part where Sam Rockwell starts to see his face falling off and the reflection of the sink pissed me off because I wanted way more than that with that.
Yeah, it was just a CGI shot on a sink.
Yeah.
On
You couldn't. It was real quick. You couldn't even see it if you weren't paying attention. Like it was a nod, if anything.
The movie needed an extra 20 minutes.
And my biggest problem, as I talked to you guys about after the movie, that family was way too comfortable with seeing ghosts for the first time.
Yeah, they weren't.
They were a very dumb family.
One moment they were like spooked. The next scene they were like, having a laugh, and that's like the ghost comes back and they're, slightly scared again.
Yeah.
Like when the kid gets fucking taken by the tree and they come in.
What's going on up there?
Yeah, it's like an everyday occurrence to them.
They were a very dumb family too,
what are you
because
doing up there?
the movie starts off with the dad, who is the sole breadwinner of the family, getting laid off from his really nice job
at John Deere.
So they have to move. But if you're laid off, how do you have the money to move to a new home?
I said that too, yeah.
And then he goes to buy stuff to trap a squirrel that's in the house, and he has 2 out of 3 of his credit cards maxed out. So he barely has anything to buy these squirrel traps. And then he comes home with nice jewelry for his wife, a new iPhone for his daughter, and what else for the
the drone with the camera attached to it,
the drone for his son.
And to the cherry on top, a pizza.
Um,
and I pointed this out too in my review.
Where did they get the money?
And then they never go back to it.
Yeah,
they don't go back to it. But what he probably did was he maxed out the 3rd card because he wanted the family to be happy.
Yeah,
that's what that scene was pretty straightforward to me. That's what
happy
he did.
in a day, but not happy in the long run.
Yeah, that's what he was thinking about.
Yeah, he was definitely not a man of foresight.
Foreskin.
What the fuck? Who's this kid? Who let him in here?
This is that damn duck again.
Things I did like Sam Rockwell. He's a likable guy. Love Sam Rockwell.
I love him.
I did like Jared Harris. That's because I always like Jared Harris. He didn't have the same effect as the old lady in the first film.
Yeah, the old lady's so cool.
But yeah, and this film would be okay if it didn't rely on
jump scares
also. But if the original never existed, this movie would be a little bit impressive. If the original didn't exist,
Respectfully disagree.
I don't like how much they played up the clown scene. It was over in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, the trailer showed the entire scene with the clown.
The clown scene in the original, the doll itself in the old movie was creepier looking.
Yeah.
This movie had a couple of creepy moments, but overall it was really mediocre, really lame, and really sloppy.
And other than the drill, all of its best moments were from the original. Mm-hmm. It's just a copy paste.
Mm-hmm. Copy pasta.
And
very similar to the Elm Street remake.
Yeah, I actually liked the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
I do too, but it was almost a shot for shot until the end. Very similar.
Yes and no. They changed a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that I actually defend the Elm Street remake.
It wasn't that bad.
It was the ones that are crappy is I like Rob Zombie's Halloween, the first one to an extent. It's good, but I don't think it gets the point of the original one.
Mm-mm.
And then the sequel he did, which is just a new sequel, it wasn't even a remake of Halloween 2. That was bad.
It kind of was. It had some similarities.
Kind of, sorta. But the first Halloween 2, it's literally the same night, and Jamie Lee Curtis is in the hospital for most of the movie. But I don't know. That one was weird. It wasn't that great. And the Friday the 13th remake, that's
Yeah.
They fused the first 3 movies together, and that one was
So where does Poltergeist stack up against the other horror remakes?
not very high.
No, it's
What is it better than? Which is a good
it's
question.
better than the Friday the 13th remake.
Yes.
Not as good as the Halloween remake, and doesn't hold a candle to the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Okay.
I would say probably the best. Like, if you want to go by like the 80s era, 70s, 80s era horror movies, which is what they've been remaking the past couple of years, I'd say probably the best one's the first one they did, which was Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
That was a good horror remake. That was a pretty good one. If you want to go by like best horror remakes of all time, probably the one that holds that crown is The Thing.
That isn't going to change.
Which most people don't even realize is a remake.
You know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake was actually pretty scary.
It is.
It's pretty damn horrifying. I'm not gonna
And that
lie.
one actually has gore in it. But I mean, that not having gore works for the old one. But that's the thing, like, you're doing a newer movie and it's called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're like,
You
well, we
need
should
to get a little bloody.
We should probably have gore in this one. But it's not. But even that movie's not the goriest movie I've ever seen. It's bloody, you see people get cut with a fucking chainsaw, but...
What do you think Poltergeist says about the purpose of horror remakes? Is there a decent place for them today?
There is, but nobody tries.
I think, this is the negative side of remakes.
The point of a remake...
Or just horror in general, in my opinion.
Can we honestly also count the Thing prequel as a remake? Because that's what it was. I mean, yes, it was a sequel, but
More or less,
Reintroduction of the element.
Yeah.
it was the exact... It, follows the same beats.
And they didn't give it a new name. It was just The Thing again.
The thingy.
The Thing again is what they should have called it. It's that damn thing again.
That's
poop again.
The problem is, I mean, there's always going to be a place for horror. Who doesn't like getting spooked every now and then?
Me.
It's fun, but nobody tries anymore. It's all jump scares, loud noises. Nobody tries. Nobody tries to get a little psychological with it. I mean, Saw, at least the first one, tried to, and it did pretty decently at it, but ever since then, nobody tries to get psychological with it. Nobody actually tries to play off of things that people are actually afraid of. They go for cheap tricks, and that only takes you so far.
James Wan is the best horror director of this decade.
I don't mean to call back to one that we, closed, but back to it, who would you have now replace as the director of it? I would personally say James Wan would be good.
He would, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is with it is not a traditional horror story at all.
No.
It is very much a journey. It's a journey. It's an adventure. And the thing is, as scary as it is and how gloomy and how much despair is in that story, there's a lot of hope in that story too. It's very much this group of children, and the main message of it is friendship and love.
Well, I think James Wan also proved he can touch on that stuff with Furious 7.
Yeah. He could do that, yeah. Because it does feel very much like an adventure. And I could say even, I know he'd never fucking do it, but I think even like Spielberg in his prime would do a really good It.
Yeah.
Too bad Stephen King just doesn't direct his own movies.
He has once.
Which one?
Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
And he helped direct stuff like him and George A. Romero made Creepshow. He's had his hand in movies before, but... I mean, Maximum Overdrive's really cheesy, but I think Stephen King did that on purpose. And he worked with he worked with John Carpenter to make Christine.
And it's just nobody tries with horror anymore. It's all very lazy. It's easily the laziest genre of movies right now.
Yes.
Horror?
Yeah.
Yeah. From what I can see.
But we get good ones here and there.
But what's funny is...
The Conjuring?
What's funny is
follows.
Horror movies are in a steady decline, but horror video games are like...
They're kind of on a rise.
They are. They're actually... Horror video games are actually getting fucking creepy.
Well, video games, like, you're immersed in it. Like,
yeah.
You feel like you're the person.
I just think it's kind of funny we're getting the parallels going in opposite directions.
Yeah. Well, because, like, back in the day, like, the old, like, pixelated games can't really scare you.
Oh, my God. Oh, 8 bits!
I feel like the only thing that's, like, 8 bits that's kind of creepy is, like, the mini games in Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, when the thing, like, rushes at you.
Yeah. I still don't know how they're gonna do that movie.
If they, well, I like how we're back at it, but if they would want to, because they want to make the It remake more commercial and have a director that will allow them to take power and tell them what to do. They could probably do that if they would want a director that would be like, well, I don't have any place being all bossy myself because I'm still trying to make a name for myself. I could see them maybe trying the It Follows director. He made, buzz with his film.
Yeah, and he could do the whole kid thing. Like, there was a group of kids and they kind of went on a journey and It Follows.
Yeah. Back to Poltergeist.
I'm listening.
What do you think the film gets wrong more than anything else specifically?
It doesn't do enough that's new.
Yeah.
It doesn't play with fear enough.
It was very much copy-paste job.
It's just not scary.
Yeah.
It isn't.
Yeah.
There weren't any memorable scares in it.
Because the original Poltergeist kind of set the bar for like haunted house movies back then.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, once again, as always, spoiler alert, but even the damn MGM logo was a jump scare. Like, really? You had to start us off that early?
Yeah. But that was the thing that old movies had. Like, they had some build-up.
This one, there was none. Well, there was either no build-up at all, or there was build-up with no payoff.
Sure. Well, all right.
Next movie?
Let's wrap it up. What would you give Poltergeist out of 10? I gave it a 6.
6.
The more I sit on it, a 5.
Yeah, probably 6.
Okay. The next film tonight is the new Brad Bird and Damon Lindelof film from Walt Disney Pictures, Tomorrowland, starring...
New Bird Brad.
Bird Brad.
Tomorrowland, starring George Clooney and Britt Robertson. Basically, this is a movie about the Nova planet from Guardians of the Galaxy, or the Joker's hideout in Mask of the Phantasm. Mm-hmm. Let's once again jump right into it. The biggest problem with Tomorrowland is that it didn't have enough Tomorrowland.
Amen.
One of the coolest scene in the movie is an entire scene shown in the trailer, which is the house escape. Some cool action, some planned stuff. Have that.
Too bad that was the whole trailer.
Yeah.
Have that, but in Tomorrowland, grander scale, I feel like I got half of a movie here. Because once they
It
finally...
didn't feel like half a movie.
Well, it
It
drags...
felt like a movie twice.
It drags, but once we finally... But the thing is, once we finally get to Tomorrowland, it's all about aftermath.
It's
almost over at that
It took
point.
all day to get there.
Yeah.
It's a giant road trip, and...
You had to wait till tomorrow to get to Tomorrowland.
And I mean, like, you see Hugh Laurie, and then, like, a few minutes later, it's like, oh, by the way, I'm the villain.
Yeah.
And it's a very...
He becomes the villain all because of one accusation by George Clooney.
It's... Yeah. It's like, whoa, hey...
He pointed his finger, you're the villain, and then he's the villain.
Yeah.
So much talent was fucking wasted with this movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brad Bird is a terrific director.
Hugh Laurie could do a good villain if he actually had,
Yeah.
I don't know, motivation that took less than 15 seconds to explain.
Yeah.
And Britt, I really like Britt Robertson.
I like her.
She's a very talented young woman.
Yes.
And it had that classic... Now, I didn't realize Lindelof had anything to do with this. I really hate Lindelof as a writer for both Lost and absolutely Prometheus.
Damon Lindelof.
But the whole explanation of the final act had that real Lindelof feel where it didn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
There's a giant ball in the sky, and it like puts out negative energy into other dimensions, and it makes us accept the apocalypse.
Well, there's a plot device. There's a plot device that is feeding negative energy into people and making them grumpy and angry. I'm thinking, wait a second, wasn't that like the fucking plot to Ghostbusters 2? Like when they had to
Ectoplasm.
like the pink ooze, and it's like, oh, it's making people mean and like grouchy and angry. And I'm like, that's fucking Ghostbusters 2.
Motherfucking Gozer!
And
No, that was Vigo.
Vigo.
It's Vigo. Hugo, you're like the buzzing of flies to him.
Worship Gozer.
Yeah.
That damn Gozer again.
And I think you
Did
were.
they say that?
Yeah.
You're all like you stick to what you know. He's done animated movies. I think an animated director going into live action can bring a very unique angle of new ideas to doing live action. Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol is one of the best action movies of the last decade. This is a movie that he turned down Star Wars to do. In hindsight, yes,
The Force Awakens?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In hindsight, yes, we got the more experienced director, J.J. Abrams, to do Star Wars.
A better fitting director, too.
A better fitting director. Make no mistake, Brad Bird will be offered a Star Wars movie sooner or later. It's going to happen. Whether it be an anthology film.
I might have to sleep in that day.
Yeah. Well,
Because, let's put it this way.
I could see him doing episode 9.
Let's see it this way. He's done Mission Impossible 4, Tomorrowland, Iron Giant, and Incredibles.
And Ratatouille.
Out of all those movies, the only ones that are still kind of talked about is Iron Giant and The Incredibles, which I don't like The Incredibles at all. So I think The Incredibles is one of the weaker Pixar films. So he doesn't have a very good track record right now.
Well, I think Mission Impossible 4 is still...
Oh, well, yeah, Mission Impossible 4, yeah.
It's remembered more so than 3. But, yeah, we'll see. Everybody has to grow. What annoyed you most about Tomorrowland? Because this is a movie that did indeed annoy us.
How it fucking dragged.
Yeah.
It was very slow.
I thought they were going to get to Tomorrowland within the first act, and...
Nope.
No.
They got out of the house in the first act.
It's literally an hour. I looked at
Yeah.
It's literally an hour in before Britt Robertson gets to George Clooney's house, which is like the main
Go
thing
away,
in the trailer.
Baton.
Yeah.
Because the trailer makes it out to be like she gets to his house at the beginning of the movie, and then they go to Tomorrowland.
Well, first thing you see in the movie is George Clooney.
Yeah.
Also, my two biggest problems, it felt like a few movies in one. You say it felt like half a movie. To me, it felt like a bunch of self-contained narratives that attached somehow.
Yeah.
Like, the part with George Clooney as a kid felt really weird because it had a beginning, middle, and end. And then it's over. And then we focus on the girl for like another hour.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, the whole beginning part really did not work for that movie, where it's one of those starts at the finish type of deals.
Yeah, where he's telling the story and
Yeah.
stuff.
It didn't work because they never revisit it. Happens at the beginning, and then 2 hours go by, and then it happens at the end, and it didn't work.
And you know what? At the very least, this movie should have been fun. And it fucking wasn't.
No.
It was almost painful.
You know, I feel like, though, it was okay for George Clooney to fall in love with the little girl.
Yeah. That
was strange.
That totally didn't make me feel weird.
And we're not talking about Britt Robertson. We're talking about like the little girl that's a robot.
Yeah.
Spoilers, once again. No, you didn't do anything.
You can tell
I
she's a
thought they
fucking
were going to
robot
kiss
the
at the end.
Hmm?
I thought they were going to kiss at the end.
Or put his hand in her
slot.
slot.
Go ahead and say
Yeah,
it.
she's got this big hole in her stomach.
Slot.
My womb.
It suffers from Avatar syndrome, James Cameron syndrome, where this movie does indeed insist upon itself. It really prances around and sings to you how wonderful it is. And does it come off a little too preachy? It depends on what your patience is with that stuff, really.
That honestly didn't really bother me
It builds
too much.
up Tomorrowland, like the place. I'm not talking about just the movie. Like it builds up the place Tomorrowland so much, and when you get there, it just doesn't pay off at all.
No.
You don't see enough of it.
And it shows the aftermath. Shouldn't they have shown the fall of Tomorrowland? Like, I think it would have been cool if Tomorrowland had, like, a civil war or a falling out or a coup or some fucking anything to make this thing more exciting.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, it does have some good messages in it. Like, don't deny climate change. Don't, go to wars with people and hurt each other too much. I mean,
Don't stifle creativity.
Yeah. Don't stunt artists and dreamers.
Don't go to a comic shop where Key from Key and Peele's at, because he'll try to shoot your ass.
And honestly, that was maybe... Once we got there, I was like, oh wow, this is fun. It's having a bunch of Star Wars references. And then it has Brad Bird references because you see a Mr. Incredible figure, an Iron Giant figure. And
There was a Bart Simpson doll.
yeah, and he did work on The Simpsons. And then eventually, like, through the scene, it's like, okay, we get it. There's a bunch of Easter eggs in this scene. But
Drink a Coke after you go through the teleportation machine.
Or two.
it's kind of sad how, walking into this movie, we weren't really expecting a lot from it. And we were still underwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the most painfully only okay movie that I've seen since Thor: The Dark World. It is just alright. It has moments that are worse than alright, and it has moments that almost are better than okay.
I have like no desire to ever watch it again.
No.
No. And
What a...
George Clooney and Hugh Laurie were fucking wasted on this movie.
Yeah.
This
Britt
is-
Robertson, too.
This is the first thing
George
that...
Clooney came off board a couple times.
Yeah, and this was the first thing that Hugh Laurie, his first big thing that he's done since House ended. I'm like, that's bad. He was completely wasted in this movie.
And also, like...
His best role was the thug in 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
I believe in versatile acting and stuff, but the moment that this movie tried to establish that George Clooney is a grumpy old cranky man
Yeah.
that lives by himself, every woman in the world went, okay,
Go away, Baton.
Baiting.
go away. Yeah, like George Clooney is that, old greasy guy that nobody likes. Okay, yeah, women are really going to buy into that.
At least Batman and Robin was funny.
Batman and Robin is actually a funny movie. Like,
it is.
at least you feel something.
Go away.
No, at the
It
very
also
least,
doesn't drag.
at
No.
the very least, this movie should have been fun, like dumb fun. At the very least, and it fucking wasn't. Like it was almost painful.
This movie tries to be mysterious, but you have to make sure that there's something worth it in the mystery box.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there's not. Like, from my understanding, Damon Lindelof is a good person. He's a cool person. He has good taste in movies and pop culture. But he really just loves the old classic ending. And it's not really a classic ending, but he just really loves having his signature ending being, fuck you. It's magic. I don't have to explain shit.
Yeah.
What a disappointing Memorial Day weekend for movies. Other years, we had X-Men, Days of Future Past. Even Indiana Jones 4 and Terminator 4 were fun. And they didn't drag, and you felt something. This weekend, whew.
My thing is, the whole movie marketed on going to this other world, going to this, I don't want to say magical, but,
Mythical.
Just
world.
straight up awesome place.
this ethereal science fiction world.
And they don't.
The whole movie, like, they're on the road driving in a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They even tease you again because they get in a machine. They're like, oh, we're going to teleport there.
You're about to lose 90% of all your blood sugar.
And then when they teleport, they're in Paris. So we got to have another scene where they're in the Eiffel Tower. It's like, oh, there's a rocket ship in the Eiffel Tower. Now we're going to Tomorrowland. And it's just, okay, it's even in the title. The title, and let me compare it to something else where, like, the main plot of the story is going to a place. You have the Chronicles of Narnia. Narnia is in the title. Narnia is this magical world where the kids go to Narnia relatively at the beginning of the movie, like a decent amount into the first act
Over
of the story.
3/4 of the movie actually takes place in Narnia.
And I'll say what Narnia and Tomorrowland kind of do the same thing. When they get there, Narnia and Tomorrowland is not the place it was. Narnia has become taken over by the White Witch. It is a world covered in winter. But there is brilliance there. There is magic there. There is still good there, and there's something worth fighting for there.
Santa Claus giving out weapons
And there's
to
a
kids.
and there is an adventure there that's throughout most of the movie. They're going on this like chase and this adventure, and they meet Aslan, and they bring it back to the way it was. And there is magic and there's brilliance there. And I'm talking about the movie and the book.
I can't believe that movie's 10 years old already.
Yeah.
And I like the first two Narnia movies. I really like. I haven't seen the third one, but and then going back to Tomorrowland, they don't even get there until the end of the movie, and then they pull that card of how like, oh, Tomorrowland was great, but now it just kind of sucks.
There wasn't
And then-
any
and then, like-
there wasn't any elaboration on that though.
And then the final act of the movie, they're not even doing anything in Tomorrowland. They're in one room.
Yeah.
They're in one room in Tomorrowland. One room with Hugh Laurie.
And it looks like a level from
Where that-
multiplayer in Halo.
Where that machine is. They're in that one room the whole time,
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have George Clooney and Hugh Laurie like teleport to a beach back on Earth for 2 seconds, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do anything in Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
I would say probably the best thing in this movie is when Britt Robertson is just seeing stuff in the preview thing with the pin. And I liked the first act when George Clooney was a kid and he's using the jetpack. Yeah. They don't pay it off. Like, you could do the whole like the bad guys won and took over, but there is hope to bring it back, like in the Chronicles of Narnia.
Or another example, The Wizard of Oz. They're in Oz, like
almost the whole movie.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like those things, but the place and the title. That's kind of the whole point of the story, is going to this magical place because it's an escapist story.
Yeah.
It's getting out of the norm and going to this other fictional world.
This movie...
And they did not do it right at all.
This movie could have been a good escape.
Mm-hmm.
And more than half of it, I'm in the same fucking world that I'm in real life anyway, minus the creepy robot smiley guys.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't see us, but we all just did the creepy smiley robot guy.
I appreciate this weekend. Making me appreciate Mad Max even more.
Well, that's saying something.
I just thumbs up.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts is, this is a 6 out of 10. And who knows, maybe by the end of the year it could be a 5 out of 10. It's better than Chappie. Chappie pissed me off more than any other movie this year. Chappie and... Actually, Chappie was the number one movie that pissed me off this year.
Both Chappie and Tomorrowland were very mismarketed.
Yeah.
Chappie was trying to look like E.T. as a robot, like a very inspirational movie.
It also was like marketed as like a save the world kind of movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That movie couldn't figure out how it was marketed.
Yeah, 2 weeks before the movie's supposed to come out, they changed the marketing, like completely gave it an overhaul.
And guns
they even
and
say in the one commercial, like
Humanity's last
hope is Chappie.
Yeah.
I didn't see humanity on the verge of destruction. Did you?
And then this movie is Tomorrowland's marketed as like a sci-fi adventure, and it's not at all.
No.
It's just a girl on a fucking road trip.
It's a road trip with George Clooney, which, I mean...
You could say that's an adventure, but in the scope of all the sci-fi adventure action movies we had, it's not a good one.
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10?
5 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 6 for now, because I do appreciate a good message, but who knows, probably in a few weeks it will be a 5 out of 10 for me. I'm just going to leave it as a 6.
I can get a good message reading the back of a bumper sticker.
Yeah, your mom's got like 4 of them.
Yeah.
I'd say 5.5 out of 10.
Trevor?
You know what, since Coke wasn't here, I'd give Mad Max the thumb. No, but this, I would say 6.
6.
Because, I mean, at least for a little while there, Lindelof tried to make sense. And fucking ruined it again.
Yeah.
Because in his mind, people can't roll out of the way of things.
Age of Ultron's still the best movie so far this year.
Mike, Lindelof's universe, people still can't roll out of the way of things.
Yeah.
Will this movie still be remembered in a year?
No.
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 No. No.
What's more, this or Poltergeist?
This.
Tomorrowland.
Because Tomorrowland could have genuinely...
Poltergeist is just meh.
Yeah. Tomorrowland
I
could have
wasn't
had more
yawning
going
during
for it.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't constantly checking my clock on my phone.
Yeah.
Here's a fun game. Name a famous movie, but imagine it directed by Tommy Wiseau.
Who's that again?
Guy who directed The Room.
I did not.
We could probably get him to come on here.
We probably could, in all honesty.
Not doing much.
Someone would probably die in a jetpack accident if he filmed it.
Yeah, well, that was another point. When I was watching the first 10, 15 minutes of this movie, I had one thought. Couldn't Disney have just remade The Rocketeer? Like, I would have been all about that.
Oh yeah, I love The Rocketeer. And even though people are like against remakes, like I would love The Rocketeer to have new life.
Well, since it's a superhero movie, it would just be called a reboot, but yeah, same difference.
But I think if Rocketeers really doesn't have a long running thing in comics, it kind of just
so
has a core
the
story.
next big thing is Jurassic World.
Basically, if you don't count San Andreas,
Which I don't.
or
That's not a big thing.
That's gonna be dumb fun.
That's a fucking crack in the ground.
I have a feeling it's going to be the day after tomorrow all over again.
yeah,
It'll be dumb fun, but
Yeah.
at most. But the next big thing we have isn't until Jurassic World.
June 12th.
And then, what, a week after that we have Ant-Man?
No, Ant-Man's not until July.
I thought Ant-Man was in June.
No.
Oh, well, fuck me.
It's okay. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
To fuck him?
No, after Jurassic World. Oh, okay.
Oh!
After Jurassic World,
Yeah.
love it or lump it,
Lump it.
like it or skeech it.
Your words aren't real.
Skeech it?
I give it a haircut.
The next big thing after Jurassic World is Terminator Genesis.
That's not a big thing.
Would you buy into Terminator Genesis being more fun than Tomorrowland?
No.
In a painful train wreck
In
kind
a
of
Batman and Robin-like way?
way. In a painful
out.
train wreck kind of way.
I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger is dive bombing at a helicopter.
Yeah, I'm coming to get you.
I'd rather just see Maggie. I do want to see that real bad.
That looks like a movie that'll either be okay or really boring.
Mm.
But
Depends on if you can deal with the non-super.
McDonald's is a zombie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
We're at 55 minutes.
Oh. We might
Well-
make a normal timed one for once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might actually follow through with the title.
Well, yeah.
But we wrap it up. We'll put
Well,
it
no. We don't have to just yet.
Don't tell me what to do.
That's how you get another hour.
That's how you get another hour.
Okay, what are you thinking of, Pookie?
I'm
What you
thinking.
got?
I'm thinking.
What you got?
Other than lupus.
Spaghetti.
Okay, what is for the rest of the summer after this day?
Mm-hmm.
What is from now until the end of August? What is the number one movie that you have faith in?
Can you give me a brief run through of what we got?
We got
What?
Jurassic World, Ant-Man.
Terminator, Man from U.N.C.L.E.,
Nope.
Straight Outta Compton, Minions. Yeah, you asked me too soon.
San
Ant-Man.
Andreas.
San Andreas.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's think about
Summer
this.
2015.
I got it, Mike.
IMDb, you can just
I think the-
literally scroll through.
Yeah.
Between now and August, the movie I'm probably looking the most forward to is Jurassic World.
We
The
have
movie I have the most faith in is probably Straight Outta Compton.
San Andreas, Aloha, Entourage, Spy, Insidious 3, Jurassic World, Inside Out, Ted 2, Terminator, Magic Mike, Minions, Ant-Man,
Ted 2.
yeah, Pixels, Paper Town, Southpaw, Vacation, Mission Impossible, Fantastic Four, Man from U.N.C.L.E., Straight Outta Compton, Hitman, Sinister, and that's it.
That one horror movie, The Gallows.
Yeah. I'm looking like...
Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Did you say?
Tomorrowland. Fuck off. Terminator 5 is the movie that I'm going to be excited for walking in, but not in a good way. Like, oh goddamn, I got to see how this Zeppelin crashes.
Hindenburg!
I honestly have a lot of, like, August 14th is a day I'm interested in. I have a lot of faith in Straight Outta Compton and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Straight Outta Compton looks like a good biopic, and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. looks like a fun movie.
Fun.
I'm not looking forward to Trainwreck, because there's just something about her that...
You want to see Terminator.
Fantastic Four, I think, will be good. Honestly, I think I have the most faith in Mission Impossible. So, that's what I think.
Okay.
Michael, you're probably looking forward to Fantastic Four the most.
Yep.
Yeah. Trevor?
Ant-Man.
Really?
I really like Paul Rudd, and I just think because nobody's really seen the character of either of the Ant-Mans before, they can kind of play with it a good bit. And I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see them kind of go back to a very basic thing, like something along the lines of the first Iron Man, where you just have your self-contained character that's kind of separate from the rest of this universe that they can just play around with.
And then it'll be in Civil War.
Yeah. Well,
Civil War.
well, let's go ahead and...
I heard he might even become a giant man in that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
We can just go ahead and call it there.
Okay.
Welcome to the True Minute.
That was the true minute.
What is this?
Thank you for listening. I'm Blake Jones. You can find me online on both Twitter and Tumblr at Blake V. Jones, especially Tumblr for all my trailer and full movie reviews.
I'm Donnie Johnson. You can find me on Twitter at TheDonJohn1991. Definitely subscribe, link, comment. Subscribe to Pooka Saucy on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at Pooka Saucy.
I'm Trevor Klein. You can find me on Twitter at BumbusColumbus. Yeah, that's all I got.
And I'm Mike Whedon. You can find me at MWhedon at Twitter and Instagram. And at Tumblr, Bloody in the Abyss. I'm filling in for Kogel.
You can also
We'll let him into the syrup.
You can also find them on the Wheel of Fortune.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.